Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Craig Burrell, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Air Force is Corporal Craig Krause. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony around Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by visitors to the memorial. Please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. Please sit down if you wish to do so. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this National Memorial and Museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Corporal Gordon Powell Good. Gordon Good was born on the 22nd of January 1886 to William and Marion Good of Port Pirie, South Australia. William Good had come to South Australia in 1858 as a young man and opened a business in Port Pirie. He soon became one of the pillars of the community. He was integral in the process of securing trade from Broken Hill to the port at Pirie instead of Adelaide, and served the community in myriad ways, from being mayor and councillor at various times to judging horses in the local show. Gordon Good grew up in Port Pirie and attended Mr Burns' private school in the congregational schoolroom. He then went to Adelaide to complete his education at Prince Alfred College, where he proved to be an excellent athlete and won many trophies. From college in Adelaide, Gordon Good went to Edinburgh to study medicine at university, but his studies were cut short when his father died in 1910, and he returned to South Australia and began work as a station hand. Good enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force from Adelaide in October 1914, following his younger brother Eric, who had enlisted in August. Unlike Eric, who went into the infantry, Gordon Good was posted to the 3rd Light Horse Regiment. He underwent a brief period of training in Australia before being sent to Egypt. Private Eric Good landed on Gallipoli with the 10th Battalion on the 25th of April 1915. 2 days later, he was killed in action. Gordon Good arrived on Gallipoli in early May 1915, less than 2 weeks after his brother was killed. His regiment played a largely defensive role on the peninsula and was in reserve during the heavy fighting of the August offensive. Good proved an able soldier and was promoted to corporal. In mid-September 1915, Corporal Good reported to hospital suffering from enteric fever. Although he returned to his regiment a few days later, he had not fully recovered and was soon evacuated to hospital in Egypt. There he became the second of William's and Marion's sons to die during the war. He was buried in nearby Chatby Military Cemetery, aged 30. His headstone also commemorates his brother Eric, whose body was never recovered and who has no known grave. It reads, "Also in memory of his brother, Private E.R. Good, they did their duty." The names of Gordon and Eric Good are listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, among more than 60,000 Australians who died during the First World War. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Corporal Gordon Powell Good, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the last post ceremony. Thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial and good evening.